All right, we are back with another episode of Transformers Force to Fight. And for today's episode, I'm going to be continuing what I did in the last episode, just focus on 100%ing Act 3 at this very slow pace, bit by bit, because, there's no need to rush, and I want to take my own time and also just talk about certain topics that is on my mind. So, of course, from today's title of the episode, you already know what that topic is going to be. So, let's just dive into it. Last weekend was Toy Fair, and Toy Fair was from the 1st of March to the 4th of March. And usually, whenever Toy Fair happens every single year, since the last 5 years, ever since I started collecting action figures. I only usually watch Toy Fair news for things that I'm interested in. I never really look into anything else that is revealed at Toy Fair for other toy lines that, is not up my alley or just something that I don't really pay attention to. But this year's Toy Fair, I did see something that I didn't even know existed until I came across a certain video talking about this particular robot mech IP that's based from South Korea. It's called Metal Cardbot. And I did some searching on what this is. And basically, it's a line of transforming robot toys. And, they're basically just like Transformers, right? They turn into vehicles, all kinds of stuff. And I didn't even know this existed at all. Like, I was just like, what is this? And apparently, at Toy Fair, they showed some of the products because they are bringing these to the States. So they're going to basically um, do a English localization for this toy line, which also happens to have a show as well. And I've seen like one episode of the show out of curiosity. It's definitely not for people like me. Like you can tell that this is very geared for a younger audience. But because I like Transformers, anytime I see any sort of like robot toy that can turn into a vehicle, that's gonna appeal to me for sure. Like I'm going to be like, focused on it. I'm like, whoa, we got like new, figures that can turn into vehicles. Like I want to see what that's all about. And from what I can tell from some of the products that they showed at Toy Fair, they look very interesting. Let's just put it that way. There's like a gimmick to them, like how they come with these metal cards, which is basically like an accessory to the action figure. And those metal cards can transform into something that goes on the robot, from what I can tell from what I've seen. And yeah, it's very interesting. Again, I don't know much about this series. I've never heard of it. So a lot of what I'm going to be saying in this episode is basically just what I'm assuming that accessory is for. But the robot modes for some of these characters that they have in this toy line, pretty cool looking. There's one big one that I don't know his name to. He kind of reminds me a little bit of Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus in a very interesting way, I guess. That's what that character looked like. And that one just, got my attention right away when I saw the photos of it. I was like, I need whatever that is. Like, look, Transformers, they're expensive. Nowadays they are. They cost more. And I have a feeling that these toys are going to be the same too. I don't think they're going to be like, less than how much Transformers cost in price. Especially with how everything these days are just going up in price like crazy. I wouldn't be surprised if the prices for these metal cardbot toys are pretty much similar to Transformer pricing. But of course, that could be, different because it seems like they want to push this into the English market. So, of course, if you want people to buy your products, you got to make that price reasonable, especially for a brand that not a lot of people have heard of. So, if the prices are lower for these products, that would actually be very what's that word called? That'll be doable for me because I might buy a few of them just to see what they're all about. And from what I can tell from the first episode that I did watch out of curiosity, because I did sit through all, the first episode, it really does remind me a little bit of like, how do I describe this? It's like Pokemon, but with robots and some other, you know, thing to it. Like, I'm not saying it's exactly like Pokemon, because what the main character does is that he summons the robots with this metal card sort of object that he uses on his wristband thing, whatever it's called. I don't remember the name to it already. Um, and it seems like he can control them. And also, the backstory to these characters is that they come from a different world entirely. They come from a different planet that's not Earth, and their planet is dead. So, because it's not livable anymore, they have to find a new safe haven. But it's not really explained how it's dead. Oh, Scorponok. Scorponok, stop! I'm trying to talk here. So, there's that whole thing. And that reminded me a little bit of Transformers, but the only difference is that in Transformers, there is like an explanation to like why their planet. There is an explanation to why their planet is dead, right? Like, or it's not actually dead. It's just like in hibernation state. So life is not, Man, I'm trying to speak, but freaking Scorponok is just like making me nervous right now. Oh my! I don't like Scorponok. I don't. Okay, let me just get back to what I'm trying to say. So basically, you know how in Transformers, Cybertron is basically unlivable because of the war? Well, in this one, there's no explanation to why their planet is dead. Or maybe there is, and I just haven't looked too deep into it. But basically, the whole point is that they come to Earth to find a new safe haven where they can live. And yeah, but there doesn't seem to be like any factions. It's more like, oh, some of them are evil and some of them are good, right? It's not like Transformers where you have an Autobot and Decepticon sort of deal where there's two sides. So that's something there. And basically, that's the premise of, I guess, the story from what I can understand. Of course, I'm probably going to watch more of it in the future because the dub episode I watched, that was not a good dub episode to sit through. I think they might redub it for sure because um, most of it is in Korean. So, yeah. Um, and I don't know if I plan to continue watching more of it yet because the first episode, again, it just doesn't appeal to me in terms of story, in terms of the way that the show is set up. It's very geared for a different audience that's not for me. Now, when it comes to these toys, though, that does appeal to me because, even if there's no context to what they are to me, I probably still would buy a couple of them just out of curiosity because I like transforming toys like this. And if they're well made in plastic quality and they're also like priced at a decent like price point where they're not too expensive, yeah, I probably would give it a try because you know I've never really branched out of Transformers. Like when it comes to most of these transforming robot stuff that I have, it's always been Transformers. I don't have anything else. I know there have been other robot mech IPs out there that also do a similar thing, but I just haven't, gotten to those yet. And honestly, a lot of those are quite expensive too because they're not localized in the States. Most of them are based from Japanese robot mech IPs that I've heard of, but they don't really sell them here, so they are quite expensive, especially if you're trying to buy those products. So the fact that this South Korean robot mech IP is actually getting localized here is interesting. Um, so yeah, and then speaking of toys, let's talk about some of the ones I did see. So, of course, you have the main character. the main robot, which is basically a police car. And I don't know what the official English names are going to be because, for a fact, I know that whenever they do localize these sort of things in the States, certain names are going to change. Like they're not going to just translate their name from Korean into English. No. Every time they do stuff like this, it's obvious that the names are going to be changed and they're going to make the name sound better than, what their translations are. And for now, from what I can tell, the name of this police car is called Blue Cobalt, and it looks like a very interesting character. I do like the vehicle mode. It's very interesting looking because it is a police car, but it looks very futuristic. And that's something that I do want to point out is that some of the designs of the robots and their vehicle modes, they look very cartoony. I don't know what it is. Some of them just look like regular vehicles in toy form, but some of them look like they're straight out of like some sort of cartoony design because you can tell how exaggerated the designs are. It doesn't feel like, something that's based on something real. And that's kind of what appeals to me about a lot of these like robot transforming toys from all these other IPs is that sometimes you see some very cool design vehicles even if it's not real. For example, the Age of the Primes, Prima Prime, his vehicle mode. I like the way that vehicle mode looks. It's not even based on any real vehicle. It's just a Cybertronian vehicle mode, but it looks really freaking cool. So that's like a good example. Um, and I did see a couple other ones from the photos that were shown. Uh, they were posted all on Twitter. And that big guy is probably the one that appeals to me. The one I said earlier in this episode. The one I said that looks like Optimus Prime and Ultra Magnus, kind of. Like, I don't know what he is, but he looks like he might turn into a truck. So, that's like a common vehicle that most of these franchises tend to have. And speaking of trucks, that's where I can bring this up now. So, after I searched this up, a short got recommended on my feed of one of these metal card bots. And apparently they made like this special metal card bot to celebrate the year of the snake. And the packaging it came in looks really nice. And the vehicle mode is literally a truck. I don't know what the name of this robot is called. I didn't even look at the name. I was just like amazed at how like it's designed. So the entire robot is covered in this sort of gold color plastic with, elements of black paint on some parts, and it looks pretty cool. I'll just put it that way. They look very nice. Now, I don't know how they feel on hand because, I don't know when these are set to come out here in the States. But hopefully the plastic quality doesn't change because one thing that I have an issue with when it comes to localizations for certain things that are not from this country is that, depending on who the manufacturer is for the English localization of these toys, the plastic can change. And a good example of this is Beyblades, for example. The metal that they use for Beyblades in Japan are much better than the ones here in the States. Like, I didn't even know this was a thing until I found out recently with the newer Beyblades that, yeah, there is a different material of metal being used because there's two different, like, I guess, manufacturers for these. One is for Japan, one is for, of course, the US versions. I thought they were all just made in the same place, same factory, same material, and then they just separate them. It's like, oh, one is for Japan, one is for the US. Apparently, that's not the case. So, if this is the primary company that's localizing it here in the States themselves, then I think the plastic quality is probably going to stay the same. Because Beyblade is done differently, right? Like, if you collect Beyblades, they're all like, they go through Hasbro. Hasbro's the one that manufactures, or they're the ones that, yeah, they're the ones that have their factories make the Beyblades for the English crowd, right? And then Takara Tomy is the one that makes Beyblades for the Japanese side. So, it's not the same factories. But for this one, I don't know. I didn't look into that part yet. So hopefully it's just the same company, but now they're branching out to the English crowd and they're gonna just keep things themselves. They don't have to go through any other sort of toy company here in the States to do all that. So yeah, very interesting. This was the first thing at Toy Fair this year that stood out to me is we're getting new robot toys that transform into vehicles that are not Transformers. um, so yeah, I just wanted to talk about this because it really is something cool to see. It's always nice to see something different. Um, and will it be competition against Transformers? I don't know. Honestly, that's something that I'm not going to get into. That's a whole different topic. I guess it really depends on how you view it. Um, so there's that. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say about this Metal Cardbot. I don't think I have anything else in mind when it comes to this topic. Let me see. Oh, okay. Um. Oh, you know what? I guess we could talk about the packaging. Why not? Well, let's talk about the packaging as well. So the boxes that these figures come in are pretty nice looking packaging for sure. I do like the fact that you do have like an image of the character and also the robot, and everything it shows on the back is literally like, oh, here's what it looks like in robot mode. Here's what it looks like in vehicle mode. I love packaging like that when they show everything. Now, the thing that I don't know, because the boxes that they did show at Toy Fair and from the images I can see, I don't know if those are renders or those are the actual toy products themselves on the back of the packaging. Because one thing I always loved about like older Transformer packaging is the fact that they used actual like product photos that they took. It's not like today where a lot of the boxes are just they look nice, but what I don't like about the back of the boxes is the fact that they're using renders, and that's just boring because that's not what the actual thing looks like. And I screwed up, didn't I? All right, I did. So, eh, all right, I screwed up. So yeah, the boxes for these ones, I mean, they look interesting. They do kind of, remind me of Transformer packaging in the same way, right? Similar style. So you also have a nice big window on the front where you can see the actual toy. That's always nice. Good thing. Hopefully they stick to that because I'm not one for windowless packaging, especially with how windowless packaging has been a problem recently with figure swapping, right? If you know that whole thing. So, and as I said before about figure swapping, which I think I mentioned in probably an episode a while back, if people have the balls to figure swap with windowless packaging makes it even worse. So yeah. Um, all right. I don't know why I rambled about the packaging, but yeah, packaging looks cool. All right, that's pretty much everything I have to say about this. I guess until like more stuff comes out from it and I look more into it, I guess I can talk about this again. Um, but for now, I don't really know much about this IP, so I'm just gonna say what I gotta say. Alrighty. Um, is there anything else I want to talk about in today's episode? I guess. Hmm. Sometimes I don't ever think about like what topics I want to cover. I think about like one primary topic, and I'm like, "Oh, that's what I want to talk about." And then now I'm just like, "No, I got nothing." um, oh. You know what? I could talk about my action figure photography. Why not? I don't really talk about it much on here, do I? Um, that has been very fun lately. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I'm very bad at Photoshop, so if you've seen my photos, they're not the best. And honestly, like most of the photos are enhanced because of overlay effects that I use. I haven't really tried using the actual like, you know, photoshopping stuff that some people do. And I want to get better at it in the future because I really want to make some cool action figure photography. I've really loved taking photos of the action figures that I have. It's just such a fun thing to do when I have ideas. But there are certain ideas that I have where I just can't seem to create it at the moment because my skills are so bad. Um, but if you do follow the channel and you do watch my videos for like my action figure content, like the reviews and stuff, I do try my best to the best I can with how I make my thumbnails because, you know, I don't really want to use like a generic backdrop all the time. I could, and it'll just make it easier for me, and I could just, crop some words into it. But usually, every time I make like an episode for like a review, I always push myself to be like, okay, what do I want to do for this thumbnail? And sometimes, yeah, I reuse certain effects, which that's a normal thing to do. Um, but sometimes I try to be ambitious, and I think out of all the photos I've done in the past few months when it comes to certain thumbnails, the Crisis on Infinite Earths thumbnails, especially for Monitor and Anti-Monitor, are still by far my favorite ones. Those are like, I would honestly think those are the best ones I've ever made. Um, I mean, look, they're not perfect compared to what some other people can do, especially those people who know how to Photoshop like better than I can. But I guess for an amateur like me, I need to be proud of some of the ones that I were able to make, I guess. So yeah, those ones are my favorite. And then the X-Men ones, especially the Cyclops and the Gambit. Yeah, those two are also my favorite ones in recent time. So yeah, action figure photography has been very, very fun to do. Um, and I hope that I can get better as time goes by. And I guess since we're on the subject of action figures anyway, since that's what we've been talking about this entire episode, there's just a lot of things to pre-order for DC Multiverse in the future. That is gonna be a freaking nightmare. Like I'm excited, but at the same time, it scares me because there's so many figures that I want, and I'm just looking at like how much each of them costs, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna be quite a hectic thing to pick up all these figures, but I know I have to because I know a couple of them are gonna sell out. So um, right now, I'm like actually still trying to get the that classic animation Superman figure. It's sold out everywhere. This morning at the time of this recording, I literally was like, "Do I buy it from Big Bad Toy Store?" Because they only had like one left in stock. I decided not to because with the $4 flat rate shipping, it's like $29, and I was just like, you know what? Maybe I can find it in the stores. There's still a chance, probably, and I know that it's available at GameStop and I think Best Buy. They still have stock for it, so it's not completely the end of the world. However, I'm looking at the calendar and I'm like, there's also that Superman coming out for the McFarlane Toys digital line, which is like next month's pre-order. Yeah, I gotta get on that one like right away. So it's just, yeah, it is what it is. Oh, we got new offers. Oh, that's never good. That's never good to see. All those offers tend to be bad in that game. Um, okay, can I survive this? Oh my. Every single freaking time I fight this Scorponok, You know what? I need to go on like some sort of training session where I just fight Scorponok nonstop until I get better. You know what's that's the crazy part. When I used to play this game, I used to know how to dodge Scorponok's like skilled, and then this is what happens when you forget. uh, I don't like fighting him. If I can survive this, that would be a miracle. Nope. Of course not. Of course not. Yeah, because Scorponok is just not fun. But hey, you know what? I'm still getting through this, alright? So hopefully I can put a dent in a Scorponok with freaking Cyclonus. Oh, please. Please! Be merciful. Be merciful to me. Oh no. No. Use your SP1. Use your SP. No! Why do you don't why don't you listen to me? Okay. Okay. Okay, please. No. That was way too early. And that was not supposed to happen. Okay, whatever. It's fine. He's down, all right? We got Scorponok. Okay. It should be the boss now. Hey, it is the boss. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much, I guess, everything I gotta say in today's episode. Um, I'll try to get better at this with the topics and try to make them a little bit longer and talk about them. Because last episode was a very fun episode to record when I was talking about that old Spider-Man figure. And I had a lot to say about that one, but today's episode is pretty much just what you expect from me. Just me being me, talking about all kinds of random stuff in one episode that has nothing to do with Transformers. Or, well, I guess there is something to do with it, but all right. Well, that is going to cover this episode. We will continue this quest in the next episode. Again, I don't want to make these episodes too long. So, with that said, if you found today's video enjoyable, do give it a like. If you want to subscribe to the channel for more, I guess, Transformers Forza Fight content as I continue playing through this game again. And, of course, my action figure content if you want to look into that whole side of things. You can. You don't have to. In the end of the day, I make these videos for fun. And with that said, take care, and I will see you in the next episode. Or video, actually, yeah, next video. Man, I'm always botching these endings. All right, see